Football fans, the Washington Commanders just dropped their very first official depth chart of the 2026 preseason, and while it comes with the usual disclaimers about being unofficial and subject to constant change, there is an enormous amount buried inside this document worth breaking down. We are talking a surprising decision at outside linebacker that has some fans scratching their heads. An exciting new starter emerging at slot receiver. A rookie running back already leapfrogging a veteran, a kicking competition that continues to spiral in a genuinely concerning direction, and a fresh injury update on a cornerback everybody has been anxiously counting the days to get back on the field. So grab a seat, because we are going position by position through everything this depth chart reveals about where this roster truly stands right now. Before we dive into the specifics, it is worth setting proper expectations here because head coach Dan Quinn himself was refreshingly candid about exactly how much stock fans should put into this document at this early stage. He compared the predictive value of an unofficial training camp depth chart to essentially the same level of reliability as early season power rankings, which is to say, take everything with a healthy grain of salt. Nothing here is remotely set in stone, but it does offer a genuinely fascinating snapshot of exactly how the coaching staff currently views this roster heading into an important stretch of joint practices and preseason football. Let's start at quarterback, where the real intrigue centers entirely around the battle for the third-string job. Veteran Sam Hartman currently sits ahead of rookie Nathan Kalmanis, a Rutgers product, on this initial depth chart, and honestly, that outcome should not surprise anybody paying close attention. Hartman brings genuine veteran experience to that quarterback room, and the reality of these competitions is that the young challenger typically needs to actively prove he is clearly better before unseating an established veteran, rather than simply being handed the job by default. Expect this particular battle to continue playing out throughout the remainder of training camp and into the preseason games themselves. Moving over to the backfield, there is a genuinely interesting storyline developing as well, because rookie running back Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt is currently listed ahead of veteran Jerome Ford on this depth chart. Some fans assumed heading into camp that Ford's veteran experience would simply guarantee him a roster spot over a rookie, relegating that rookie to practice squad-type duty. But based on this depth chart, that assumption does not appear to be holding up. This particular rookie has reportedly had a genuinely strong start to training camp, showcasing solid power running ability paired with impressive vision, and it increasingly looks like he has a real, legitimate case to make this roster as the team's fourth running back. The team clearly drafted him for a specific reason, and this depth chart placement suggests they may already be seeing exactly what they hoped for. Now let's get into the wide receiver room, because this is where things start getting genuinely exciting. Luke McCaffrey is currently listed as the starting slot receiver, lining up right alongside Terry McLaurin and Stephon Diggs as the other starters in that talented receiver group. This represents a real, meaningful milestone for McCaffrey, who appears to have genuinely turned a corner heading into his third professional season, evolving into a legitimate trusted piece of this receiver room and potentially a bona fide starter moving forward. That is a great sign of continued development for a player many fans have been patiently waiting to see take that next step. But do not count out the challenger nipping right at his heels, because rookie receiver Antonio Williams out of Clemson currently sits listed as a third-string receiver behind Treyon Burks, Jamison Brown, and Jalen Lane, all of whom are currently slotted as second-team options. Despite that seemingly lower positioning, there is a strong belief that Williams will not remain at that spot on the depth chart for much longer. He has reportedly been thoroughly impressive throughout the first couple weeks of training camp, and even Stephon Diggs himself has publicly praised his ability, saying this rookie can genuinely hoop a little bit. That kind of praise from a proven veteran carries real weight, and it sets up what could become one of the more compelling position battles to monitor throughout the remainder of the preseason, watching whether McCaffrey holds on to that starting slot job or whether Williams forces his way into it. Now let's shift over to the defensive side of the ball, because this is where the depth chart reveals some genuinely debatable decisions, starting with the outside linebacker position opposite the team's other starting edge rusher. Quan Chason currently sits listed as the starter at that spot, and that particular placement raises some real questions worth discussing. The concern here centers on Chason's overall profile as a player, because by most accounts he currently projects far better as a designated third-down pass rush specialist rather than a true every-down starter, given that his run defense has reportedly left plenty to be desired. He is considered undersized for the position and does not currently possess a great deal of ability to properly set the edge on early downs, which represents one of the most fundamental responsibilities for anybody manning that spot in a modern NFL defense. That specific profile closely mirrors the role he actually played the previous season with the New England Patriots, where he reportedly excelled specifically as a situational pass rusher. The belief here is that veteran defensive end Dorrance Armstrong should ultimately be this team's true early down starting outside linebacker, given that he possesses the size and strength necessary to properly set that edge in the run game. It is also worth remembering that before a torn ankle cut his season short, Armstrong was arguably playing as this team's best overall defensive player. So there remains real hope that once Armstrong fully ramps back up from that injury, the coaching staff transitions him back into that clear starting role on early downs, using Chason primarily in more situational passing down packages where his specific skill set can be properly maximized. But as of this current depth chart, Chason appears to hold the unofficial starting nod opposite the other starting edge defender, which admittedly is a bit concerning given the run defense limitations at play. Perhaps the most debated linebacker decision on this entire depth chart involves veteran Frankie Louvu, who is currently listed as a true every-down starter, while both Sauce Styles and Leo Chanel are instead listed purely as rotational pieces within that group. Louvu has reportedly been getting significant reps wearing the green dot communication helmet with the first-team defense throughout camp so far. But there is a genuine argument to be made that Louvu should actually be phased into more of a rotational, situational role moving forward, used primarily on passing downs and specifically as a blitzing specialist rather than an every-down player. His overall performance the previous season reportedly struggled significantly in pass coverage, accompanied by a concerning number of missed tackles, both of which represent real problems for a player being trusted with early-down run defense responsibilities. In fact, by several advanced grading metrics, he reportedly graded out as one of the lowest-rated starting inside linebackers in the entire league last season. There remains genuine hope that this coaching staff can help Louvu rediscover the elite form he flashed back in an earlier season when he arguably deserved serious All-Pro consideration. But there is also a sobering reality worth acknowledging, because Father Time eventually catches up with every single player in this league, and last season certainly showed visible signs of Louvu losing a step across nearly every phase of his game. Given that reality, there is a strong case that Leo Chanel and Sauce Styles, two players widely regarded as among the more exciting young linebacker talents in the entire league, should be receiving significantly more every-down opportunities, with Louvu instead rotated into specific situational packages where his remaining elite traits can still shine. Seeing his name currently attached to that full-time starting designation on this depth chart is genuinely a bit concerning from a big-picture roster construction standpoint. Shifting over to the secondary, the safety position presents a genuinely fascinating ongoing competition. Nick Cross is unsurprisingly locked in as the starting strong safety, a designation nobody around this team was questioning heading into camp. But the more interesting storyline involves Jeremy Reeves currently being listed as the starting free safety, actively fending off a challenge from Quan Martin for that specific role. Reeves has reportedly been taking the overwhelming majority of first-team practice reps throughout camp, a trend that has already been well documented and discussed among close observers of this team. Reeves has also reportedly been making consistent quality plays out on the practice field, suggesting this coaching staff is genuinely committed to a simple, meritocratic philosophy of letting the best available safeties on the roster earn the playing time, regardless of previous starting experience or reputation. Now let's address a storyline that has unfortunately become a recurring theme throughout the entirety of this coaching regime: the ongoing kicking competition. Veteran Jake Moody, who served as this team's primary kicker down the stretch of last season, currently holds the top spot on this initial depth chart. But that placement comes with some serious, legitimate red flags attached to it, because Moody has reportedly been struggling mightily over the past several days of practice. In fact, he recently missed 4 consecutive field goal attempts. Finishing a particular session at just 2 makes out of 6 attempts, reportedly the single worst individual performance from any kicker throughout this entire training camp so far. Unfortunately, his competition has not exactly been dramatically better either, with undrafted rookie Drew Stevens out of Iowa connecting on only 3 of 6 attempts during that same stretch. To be fair, Stevens has reportedly shown more overall consistency across the broader sample of recent practices, and technically came out ahead in that specific head-to-head session, but a 50% success rate from either candidate is simply not the kind of performance that inspires much confidence heading into a real NFL season. This particular position has unfortunately remained a consistent source of instability throughout essentially this entire coaching tenure in Washington, and based on this latest update, that troubling trend appears to be continuing right into this current preseason. There is also a notable update on the return game worth mentioning, because the team's initial kick return unit will reportedly feature Luke McCaffrey working alongside Jalen Lane. And speaking specifically of Lane, it increasingly appears his primary value to this roster centers heavily around his special teams contributions, as he is also listed as the starting punt returner, exactly the kind of role many expected him to hold given his explosive playmaking ability in that specific phase of the game last season, including a memorable touchdown return against the Raiders. That said, Lane has also reportedly dealt with some concerning drop issues and ball security problems as a pure receiver throughout this training camp, meaning he will likely need to continue proving his overall value and earning his keep on this roster throughout the remainder of the preseason schedule. Finally, before wrapping up, there is one more significant update worth passing along regarding cornerback Trey Amos, and unfortunately, it is not the news anybody wanted to hear. On what was supposed to be his very first day back at practice following an earlier leg fracture from the previous season, Amos instead landed awkwardly on his ankle while covering Terry McLaurin during a specific route, and as a result, he has not been practicing since that setback. Dan Quinn has indicated that a more comprehensive update, including a clearer recovery timeline, should be available sometime later this week. Fans everywhere should be crossing their fingers that this situation does not linger, because Amos has already missed the entirety of the first 2 weeks of training camp. And given that he has not actually played competitive football in quite some time following his original injury, every single missed practice rep represents lost development time that this coaching staff simply cannot afford heading into a genuinely important season. So there you have it, football fans, a genuinely comprehensive first look at exactly how this coaching staff currently envisions their roster heading into an important stretch of joint practices and preseason football. A promising rookie running back already climbing ahead of a veteran on the depth chart. An exciting slot receiver competition brewing between an ascending third-year veteran and an impressive rookie standout. Some legitimately debatable decisions at outside linebacker that could shift dramatically once injured players fully return to the fold. A safety competition that appears to be settling based purely on merit and practice performance. A kicking situation that continues to generate far more anxiety than confidence. And a genuinely concerning fresh injury update for a cornerback this defense desperately needs healthy and on the field. While none of this is remotely permanent at this early stage, it gives fans a genuinely valuable window into exactly where this coaching staff's evaluations currently stand. So now it is your turn, and we absolutely want to hear what you think about everything on this depth chart. Do you agree that Dorrance Armstrong should eventually reclaim that starting outside linebacker job once he is fully healthy? Are you concerned about Frankie Louvu being listed as a full-time every-down starter given his struggles last season? And who do you want to see win that fascinating slot receiver battle between Luke McCaffrey and rookie Antonio Williams? Drop your predictions and honest reactions down in the comments section below because we absolutely love hearing what all of you think. If this breakdown helped you get fully caught up on where this Commanders roster currently stands, do us a favor and smash that like button. It genuinely helps this channel reach even more dedicated fans just like yourself. And if you have not already hit that subscribe button, now is the perfect time, because we are going to be right here bringing you every single depth chart update, every roster battle, and every bit of behind-the-scenes training camp coverage all the way through this incredibly compelling season. Thanks so much for watching, and we will catch you in the very next update.